Joining us now, Counsel on Foreign Relations President Emeritus and author of the weekly Substack newsletter, Home and Away, Richard Haass. All right, let's talk about away for a second before we come home. What's going on in South Korea?
Katie, on my short list of strange things that I didn't expect, this might be at the top of the list. Clearly, you had a president who was more than a little bit frustrated with his parliament. Out of nowhere, for the first time, in more than 4 decades, South Korea, one of the world's most robust democracies, declares martial law. He did it unilaterally. Parliament then very quickly meets. They say, no way, override it. He then backs down. So the good news is the democratic institutions, the rule of law in South Korea held. The bad news, I would think, is one, this happened at all. 2, it's, I think, an open question whether President Yoon can politically recover from what looks to me a self-inflicted wound. And it's just a reminder of how vulnerable American foreign policy is for all of our economic and security commitments to the internal dynamics of our allies.
You tell me if I'm missing the mark on this, but what I thought of when I saw this happening, is this just another example of backsliding and the permission structure for backsliding around the world after Donald Trump was reelected, this brutish attempt at unilateralism by the South Korean president? Could there have been any effect seeing Donald Trump elected here for him to go out and say, I don't like these guys, this opposition party, they're not making my life easier, they're stopping all of my agenda policies, they're trying to impeach my ministers, I'm just going to say to hell with it and declare martial law?
I haven't had a conversation with the president of South Korea in the last few hours. Possible. On the other hand, he has a police background. I have had quite a few meetings with him in the last few years. He's someone who can, look, he's not a politician by nature. And my hunch is he may have just grown incredibly frustrated. But whatever motivated it, Katie, what I like about this is, again, the institutions held, democracy held. So even if what you say turns out to be partially an explanation, the good news is it didn't work. And the rule of law, the resilience of South Korean democracy has demonstrated itself. And that's got to be reassuring both there, but anywhere in the world for other people who happen to be sitting on top of democracies. It's a reminder that there is pushback if they go too far.
Let me bring us a little bit closer to home, a little bit more to the west, and go to France. There is some turmoil happening in the parliament there with potentially a no-confidence vote for the prime minister, which is head of the parliament. It's a bit confusing under President Macron, but this would be a blow to Macron's party further because it would see his rival, Marine Le Pen, be much more in control of things on the, the policy level, the government level. What's happening in France right now? Why would there be this alliance?
Well, you're right. And there's no consensus about what ought to happen with the budget and the economy. And just take a step back. The two of the most significant countries in Europe, Germany and France, are going through political crises. You've got an accelerated election coming up in Germany. The government has, in many ways, lost the confidence of the people. France has now been a slow motion crisis, for how many months? And it's quite possible that whatever happens in Parliament in the near term, that Macron's successor could be somebody like Marine Le Pen, someone of the far right. So what we're really seeing in Europe, and both Germany and France, we've already seen it to some degree in Italy, is what we've gotten comfortable with over the last 70, 80 years in Europe, this center-left democratic order for the most part, or even if it was of the right, center-right, suddenly the extremes are coming into play. So I don't think we have the luxury of making deep assumptions about European stability and its political orientation, and also its foreign policy orientations as well.
It is a confusing time in the Western world. Let me ask you something else about Donald Trump, and this is his threat to Hamas, saying if you don't release the hostages, there will be all hell to pay. What's the likelihood of anybody listening to that on the Hamas side of things and saying, okay, we're going to give up?
Not a whole lot. It sounds to me a little bit like a threat. It's not quite clear what the or else is. And non-state actors, in a funny sort of way, their very weakness can be a form of strength. Look, the Israelis have hammered them now for what, 14 months? They've reduced a lot of Gaza to rubble. It's not quite clear what the United States can do to them militarily that Israel hasn't already done. If Donald Trump really wants to marginalize and further weaken Hamas, what I suggest is he work with Bibi Netanyahu as soon as he becomes president to pressure the Israelis to introduce a political dimension to their policy. Hamas has been weakened militarily. What we now need to do is weaken them politically. And that's something that the Israelis can only accomplish by giving Palestinians someone else, some other group to rally around. They're not willing to do it. That's a place for Donald Trump to weigh in more creatively than simply threats against Hamas.
Yeah, I got a few more questions on this, but I'm going to have to save them for another time. Richard Haass, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.